Soleil at the Little Reader's Corner. I just finished reading Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I also want to do a short review of Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, and that's because both of these books related a lot to me and sometimes my mindset and how I feel a lot of the times, and for that reason I could not finish Turtles All the Way Down, which I regret because it was well written, and I think Turtles All the Way Down and the way that John Green wrote it really showed exactly how anxiety feels inside of an anxious person who has to live with it all the time, and especially since I've gotten far more anxious in college, I really wanted to bring up this book after reading this book because the main character in Fangirl, Kath, also has some anxious tendencies that I noticed while reading Fangirl, and she also brings it up a couple times, and she's also a little more of an introvert and feels more comfortable being at home reading or writing, as do I, than going out and going to parties and really putting herself out there and meeting other people, which is kind of also true of the main character in Turtles All the Way Down, even though I read it last year when it came out, so it's a little more fuzzy in my mind. But Asa has some severe anxious tendencies, and I believe also OCD. I think it was categorized as OCD. When it first came out, no one specified that it was going to be an anxious-ridden book, and with like a lot of topics about mental health, and I didn't really think about it. It was just supposed to be about a girl in high school who decides that she's going to play detective for the missing father of one of her old friends, and then, you know, a love story is connected to it, and all this other stuff happens, but I wasn't aware about how much anxiety was also in this book, and you really go into her mindset. So at some point I couldn't finish reading it because it was bringing me down into a spiral, and it was just too much for my anxious-ridden brain to handle, and it's a really excellent book, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to know more about anxiety, loves John Green, or can relate to this book a lot without it bringing them even more anxiety than they already have. Back to Fangirl. So I really enjoyed Fangirl. First off, because it showed a lot of anxiety and just a lot of issues that could arise with your first year in college. Some things that I also went through and that I still go through today because college is stressful and anxiety makes it so much worse, and it's just a lot. And sometimes everyone else wants to go out and you just want to stay home and read or write, or just stay holed up in your room and you don't want to try to go out of your way to meet people because that is terrifying. Like, Kath, I understand. So I really enjoyed this book, and I started reading it yesterday. I finished reading it today. Yes, my entire Sunday was devoted to reading this book, and I'm fine with that. This is my entire weekend. That's fine by me. I think I would give this book a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I think this is this is the first Rainbow Rowell book I've actually finished, because I did start reading Eleanor and Park, but I never finished reading it, so I do still plan on finishing that one, and I haven't read any of her other books, but I've heard a lot about this book. And then a couple of my friends and some other people I know kept recommending it to me, and Lexicology recommended it to me. It does circulate a lot about her obsession with the fandom that she's a part of, the Simon Snow fandom, and her writing a lot, but it goes into a lot of introvert tendencies and college things that happen and everything, so I think that's a really important thing about this book. And it really showcases mental health and things about your past that could bring other tendencies forward. And this is where I go into the spoiler section, so if you haven't read the book, please read the book, and if you want to come back and hear all my spoilery thoughts about it, go ahead, or you can let it all be spoiled for you. Whatever kind of person you are. So, read the book, read the book. Okay, when Kath and her sister Ren are fighting about their mom and their dad at some point towards the end, and Ren is saying how she isn't broken, and Kath is saying how she's definitely broken from her mom leaving them, then after that scene happens, I think I personally noticed more about how they're not necessarily broken, because I feel like that's such a harsh word to use, but definitely affected by how their mom left. Like, Ren has all the problems with drinking and always wanting to go out and wanting to lose herself in other ways than Kath. And Kath just attaches herself to this fandom and these fictional lives and not really wanting to be in the present world and always wanting to be going out of her way to do things that make her feel uncomfortable. So I think both of them were definitely affected by their mother leaving, which is it definitely makes sense. And her father was affected, and all of them were affected in different ways, but all of them still were affected in the way that they all wanted to escape reality and to be dulled in their senses and not be in the present moment, each in their own individual way, which I thought was brilliant and was just a really great way of showing that kind of loss. I really enjoyed that the mom, Lara, also was in that one scene, and Kath got to get some of her aggression towards her out, and her anger and hurt at her leaving. That felt like a really poignant scene. And then the connection back to the father about how he always was trying to cope without the girls, and having the girls there supporting him and helping him out throughout the entire period of their childhood until they were gone, and then losing that was like a really huge thing for him. And then everything really changed after they left, and he just became a lot more... They were joking about him being bipolar at one point. I'm not sure if that was meant to be serious or them just kind of joking around about it, but if he is bipolar, then it definitely was triggered more by him being alone and being more with his thoughts than having to take care of his girls when they were there and having them for support and company. I thought that was really important. Those were my main thoughts. I don't want to make this like a huge book review, but I will sit down and probably write a blog post about this on my blog, which I'll link down below. So yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts of reading it after I had just finished it a couple minutes ago. Now it was like 20 minutes ago. I really enjoyed the book, and I really recommend it to anyone who wants to read a book about college and anxiety and being an introvert, and just... There are so many books about dealing with being in high school and with that stage in your life, which I think is great because that is a rough stage and that should definitely be explored in fiction. But I haven't read a lot of books that were set in college, so I think this was a great read, especially since I'm in college now, and college is stressful and full of anxiety. So this made me feel less alone, and I definitely feel like it understood me. Same as how I think that Turtles All the Way Down by John Green understood me, but this one I couldn't mentally and emotionally finish, which I'm really bummed about, but one day, when I'm in better, less than anxious mindset, then I will finish it. I'll probably have to reread it at that point, because that'll probably be when I'm done with college, and I have other anxious worries on my mind, but probably less than right now. If you want to get into the mindset of an anxious person, Turtles All the Way Down by John Green is an excellent read for that. But if you are anxious and reading those kinds of things may trigger you in some way, this might not work too well for you. And I was trying to read it as fast as I could to get through it, and kind of then it was done, and then I could just kind of sit with it and I wouldn't have to be constantly reading about it. That didn't work for me, so yes. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on any of my social media sites, they're linked down below. And if you want to like or subscribe, then those buttons are down below as well, and you can hit the little bell icon if you want to see more of my content. That would be greatly appreciated if you enjoyed what you saw here today. If you've read Fangirl or Turtles All the Way Down, please let me know what you thought, and if you had similar experiences of connecting with the books like I did, then let me know. See if we have the same opinions, maybe totally different opinions. If there are any other books that are along these lines that you would like to recommend to me, I would love that. I would really much appreciate that. Yeah, so thanks. Have a great day. Bye! I don't even remember her name. what's her name? I just finished reading this. Kath. I think I would. What am I even talking about? After I'm done with high school. I'm not in high school.